We've talked about using Saral Graphite transfer paper to transfer designs in a couple of recent videos as well as a video in the past. One of the reasons I really like using Saral Graphite transfer paper to transfer a design onto the painting surface is because it's very easy to lock it in and cover some of the smudges. One of the downsides to graphite paper is you tend to get smudges either from your fingers or your hand resting on whatever it is you're tracing during the tracing process. When you're working over a white background or any other color background for that matter, it's very easy to use the color of paint to lock in the graphite so that you're not smudging the graphite during the painting process. And you can also use the paint to erase any of those smudges on the canvas that you don't want. It's a very easy product to work with because it's very easy to overcome some of those disadvantages we just talked about. That's not the case when you're working over wood. It would be nearly impossible to come back in and recreate the same wood grain in order to lock in or cover smudges when you're working on a surface like this. I showed you briefly in a previous video how I used white Saral paper to transfer the design on the fire department table. One of the nice things about working on the wood surface was I didn't have the issue of leaving fingerprints or smudge prints on the table when using the graphite paper to transfer the design. One of the downsides to using the graphite paper to transfer this design is I knew I would be using a lot of transparent colors when I actually painted this, and I didn't want to have to worry about painting over the white graphite left on the table when I transferred the design. Ultimately, I wound up trying something that I hadn't tried before, and it actually worked really well. As you can see, I used a vinyl mask on the table to map out where the logo would appear, and some of the firefighters and the logo are sharing the same space. I wanted to get rid of the graphite within the logo, so I wound up taking a damp paper towel and using that to wipe away the graphite within the logo. For the most part, the graphite removed relatively easily. I did have to use a little bit more aggression in a few little areas where I think the graphite had worked its way down into the actual wood grain. It was no longer on the surface. But overall, it came off relatively easily. At that point, I thought, I wonder if I can trace the design with paint around and over the graphite and then do the same thing with the damp paper towel to get rid of all of the graphite. And it actually worked really well. I was using Createx Illustration Sepia to trace the graphite on this table. And this is all real time. I haven't cut anything out. So bear in mind, this is a water-based Createx paint product. It's not only a water-based product, it's one of the illustration colors which are easier to manipulate early on. I went in and traced out a portion of the design in the sepia paint, and then within a minute or two, I came in with my damp paper towel and was able to relatively easily wipe away the graphite on the table, leaving only the paint behind. It's probably worth mentioning that I was using just plain water on the paper towel. If you use a reducer or probably any other type of cleaning product, there's a pretty good chance you're going to remove the paint along with the graphite. I was relatively impressed though that I could come in that soon with water and lightly scrub on the surface without removing the Createx Illustration Sepia. That's just another testament to how good this paint actually is. Unfortunately, I didn't have the cameras running the entire time I was working on this particular portion of this project, but you can see from this shot that I had a little bit more done at this point and it was working really well. So A new tip, something that I don't think I'd ever tried before, that I tried on this one and it worked really well. You can use water around your Createx paints relatively quickly after you've sprayed them without detrimental effects. So I hope you guys got something out of this. If you did, remember to like, subscribe, and share. I'm Trevor with Wicked Art Studio. I'll see you guys next time.